We live in a make-believe world. Everything stems from human imagination. And right now it's becoming incredibly difficult to know what is the difference between what is actually real, factual, and what has been made up, but that feel equally real. Mostly it's because so much of our experience is digital, on the internet, photo, video, reel, and so on. Just like in your imagination, everything on the digital space can be made up, can be changed, can add filter, colors, and so on, to the point that it distorts reality completely. And with AI and all those tools that are coming out, that space is changing drastically. And so what's very interesting is that what you see people on the internet creating fantasy story, fantasy reality, fantasy life about themselves, right? Those so-called self-proclaimed influencers who are living the high life, who have the perfect life, and they're just streaming their whole lifestyle. But in reality, their day-to-day looks completely different. Or you have all those beauty filters that are creating the illusion that everybody's sexy and beautiful and perfect and rich and have their shit together and living the crazy lifestyle as well. And so a lot of people watch this video, believe it's real because it looks so real, and it creates the anxiety. I'm losing behind, I should be there, I'm not as beautiful as others. They're comparing themselves toward what they see that has been artificially created, altered, and changed. And I'm not here to tell you that this is good, bad, right, or wrong. It's the way it is. But I'm here to show you just how much this resembles your imagination, your own mind, and what your mind is actually doing. And it's just like a fractal. Because just like on the internet right now, your mind can make up anything, and even faster and even better, and you will believe it even more. In fact, all those examples I gave you, it started in somebody's imagination, isn't it? Your own life, your own situation right now started in your own imagination. Unfortunately, a lot of people, still most people, use their imagination to create anxiety, to create worry, to worry about what people are gonna say if they do certain things, to limit themselves and to live a very predictable, limited life. And that's why I often tell to my clients that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. But imagination becomes reality because what you see in your mind, what you focus on, what you think about, even if it's not factual, you focus on, you experience it, you focus on it, you feel it. You start to make decisions, it starts to alter your choice, it starts to alter your energy, your lifestyle, who you are, and eventually all that thing, all the subconscious decision leads you to creating the life that you have right now. So what you entertain in your imagination over and over and over again, you end up experiencing. And here's something that's gonna blow your mind that is so important for you to understand, is that your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. So what you hold in your mind long enough and often enough will start to feel true, and your subconscious mind will start to work toward making that true physically in your reality. And so if you misuse your imagination, if you keep focusing on the wrong thing, if you keep thinking the wrong thought, if you keep having the same old experience where you feel left behind and not enough and this and that, you will keep on perpetuating that. And so this is a misuse of your imagination. And actually neuroscience has shown this so many times, that your past memories are actually made up. What you think is your past, what you think those memories are bound in truth and all of that is actually changed, because neuroscience has demonstrated that every time you think of a past memory, you change it, you alter it ever so slightly. So you think of your past in a certain way and you think this is what happens, and you have all those good, bad, neutral memories of your past, and you're like, yeah, this is my life, this is how I grew up, this is those moments, this is what we said, that's how I felt, those experiences. But think of what that means. Every time you have thought about one of those memories, you changed it. Right? You changed it maybe in terms of feeling, of how you felt, about your context right now, your attitude right now, and so on. So you have changed, you have molded, distorted your own past. And how do you think that affected who you are right now? Because so much of our identification, of our belief about who we are now comes from our past experiences. And so whenever you go back to a past breakup or a past situation or something, right, that you don't like, somebody pissed you off, somebody did that to you, somebody affected you in a negative way, every time you revisit that, maybe you're making it worse. How is that affecting your life now? So you see, your imagination is always working. Whatever you entertain in your mind, you experience. you perpetuate, or you get out and you create something different if you start to choose to see your past differently. And this is the beauty of being a human being, is that our past doesn't define us. We get to define our past. We get to change, we get to heal, we get to turn the past into wisdom if we want, if we choose to. And this is the beauty that we have, is that we all have a choice to start to look at ourselves in our life, our past, our future, who we are, and to imagine something greater. And here's something else that neuroscience has shown, and it's called the illusory truth effect. And this is also going to blow your mind, because they discovered that when you tell people something often enough, even if it's false, even if it's wrong, even if it's completely made up, the more you tell them, the more they're going to believe it, the more it's going to feel true for them, and the more likely they're going to act on that, because you always believe what you believe. So in all those experiments, the more they tell people made up stuff, the more they tended to believe it, because the brain confuses familiarity for truth. So it feels familiar, therefore it must be true. And this is the basic of mind control, of propaganda, of reprogramming your subconscious mind. Why do you think the news, the politician, the system just keeps on feeding you the same message over and over and over and over again? Think about all the thoughts you keep feeding yourself over and over and over and over and over and over again, all the stories you keep telling yourself, all those past things you keep thinking about, all the things people tell you around that, all those influencers that you follow and so on, all the messages that you receive. What are they doing to you, to your state of mind, to your belief about what you can create in your life? Because your imagination is always on, is always being shaped, is always being molded by information you receive from the outside world, but also by your own inner world, your own inner thoughts, your own inner desire, your own inner creativity and free will. So all those things that you assume to be true, are they really true? Or you just made them believe that they're true, and then you just leave what is true? When I used to be young, I used to think that I'm too tall. That was my made-believe reality. And so I was shy, and I was timid, and I was self-conscious, and it affected my life in tremendous ways. But was it the truth? Or was it just made-believe because I created that story in my own imagination that I entertained so much that it defined who I am, or who I thought I was, more precisely? One day I was working in a mall with my mom just 2-3 years ago, right? And I didn't pay much attention, like she was like looking at stuff, whatever. I was a little bit checked out up to the moment where she said, she looked at something and she really liked it, and she was like, oh, this is good, but this is not for me because of the price tag. And this just woke me up, because I was like, whoa, what is that? Like, when did you decide this is not for you? This is also a made up bullshit reason, because the fact is that she has the money to get that thing if she wanted to. But in her imagination, in her mind, this is not for me. Can you see that? And then I reflected in my own life. I used to do that. I used to buy cheaper things compared to what I really wanted, simply because it was a learned behavior in an imagination of my parents and maybe their parents and so on. This is what and how we live. This is not for me. There is a box, and in that box, this is the things that are good for me, and everything else maybe is too expensive, maybe it's for rich people, maybe it's for whatever the imagination made up. But you see, up to the point where I chose subconsciously that this was the truth, I lived that truth. And the moment I started to imagine something greater, started to think greater, started to have a better story, what was possible for me, what was for me, started to change, because I changed my own imagination act. So I changed my thought, I started to think greater, I started to become greater. And so you see, we live in a make-believe world where your imagination becomes reality. And at first, it might feel unfamiliar, it might feel weird, it might feel like completely not real for you. But I guarantee you, if you keep seeing yourself, if you keep telling yourself the same thing over and over and over again, sooner or later, and it will be sooner than later, you will start to feel that it's normal. And if you ever use any form of affirmation for like 30 days or like 10 days or 20 days, something like this, you know that at the beginning, you don't really remember it. It's hard, it doesn't flow and so on. But after a certain amount of time, especially if you use it a lot, it just comes. It just comes and you start to feel it and it starts to leave a mark in you and you start to believe it and it starts to become second nature in your thought, in your mind, in your attitude. But what is that? It's another way that you make up your own world by what you choose to focus on, what you choose to think, what you choose to imagine. And so just like the digital world and our whole world and our whole world history is made up, because what are countries, what are nations, what is money, what are all those symbols and all those things that we have imagined, right? We take a piece of land and we draw a line and this is the boundaries, and on this side people are like this and on that side people are like that, right? All of this is made up by a system, made up by tradition, made up by people, made up by we don't even know what, by people who are long gone, and we just live based on that. So this is not good, bad, right or wrong. It's the world we live in, and everything stems from the mind, and the mind just creates things that looks like the mind. That's why we're creating AI in a digital world and so on, where everything can be creative and made up. And eventually we want to create something that can become its own future version and creative self-aware version. And this is why we're working toward super AI and so on, but that's something else. But what you have to realize is that right now you have the power to think greater, to make a different choice about how you see yourself, how you see your future, how you see your past, how you think of all those things, and to start to reinvent yourself. Not to compare yourself to what you see online or to judge those people that you see online because maybe their life is different online than on, physically and so on. It doesn't really matter what others do. What matters is how do you use those tools that you have in you right now to shape your own reality, to alter your own life, to alter your own future. Because I guarantee you that if you just for 30 days start to visualize being the person you want to be, living the life you want to have, having those experiences and make them feel normal, after 30 days, you will see just how much more natural it becomes, and you will start to see things moving in your life. You will start to see how your mind generates ideas for you to get there. You will start to see that this reality is closer than ever. And that's the power of your wonderful imagination. Let me know what you think down in the comment, guys. As always, hit that subscribe button. I will see you next time. Be well.